because it was very interesting for me as we were discussing with Nancy, just to see the angle to which we were going to approach this conversation. So I'm waiting for you to tell me on the chat what your thoughts or what you're curious about. And I have seen our friend Frank from Tanzania is on the call. I hope Tanzania is good for you. All right, so I have done what I needed to do there. Thank you very much for your patience. So I was letting you know who Atara Solutions is. We are HR consulting and training organization. We offer recruitment and selection. We offer HR manager outsource for organizations that do not have a full-time HR. We offer HR consultancy if the organization needs support enhancing your HR operations and your strategic your performance. We support you on that, and then we offer learning and development for all your trainings, coaching, team buildings. Please get in touch with us, and we will support you on those areas. Tonight, you're tuned into what we call Get It Right with Atara Solutions, which is a webinar series that seeks to demystify issues in employment and entrepreneurship. And from Uganda is on the call, Mr. Herbert Zake. Thank you so much, Herbert. We always honor and appreciate your partnership. Herbert is for a coach. Then Herbert is your go-to person. He has coached over 500 executives. Can you imagine that? And of course, Herbert runs an organization known as Steadfast Quality Solutions, where he offers public relations and human resource consultancy. So Uganda, if you're looking for support on your governance and board trainings, then Herbert is your person. I don't know whether you can hear me, Nancy. I see Richard. Richard, oh, I lost you for a minute.
Somehow there's a delay from what you're saying. There's a little bit of delay. I don't know the reason. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I saw a notice that my internet is a bit slow. That's why I'm asking whether, and I noticed you sort of froze. All right. So I hope you have subscribed to our YouTube channel where we put up all our recordings, and I hope that you are following us on Instagram and YouTube. Of course, we're in partnership with K2 Services in Rwanda. If you're looking for services in Rwanda, I will let you know before we finish this session about our coming training. We have the Growth Grid Mentorship Program coming up from the 4th of March. We have the Tanzania International Workplace Digital Summit, which is happening from 25th, and then I will bootcamp as well in March. So all this I'll let you know in a bit, but for now, Nancy, how do we love right? Nancy is not new on this platform. She has been with us for a while. So Nancy is a psychologist at Hisia Psychology Consultants. She's an amazing soul. She is my friend as well. And I'm sure if you're looking for somebody to support you in your organizations on matters mental health, Nancy, please take it away.
Thank you so much, Grace. And I really appreciate the platform. Hi, everybody from wherever you are. I'm glad you're tuned in to tonight's conversation. Last year, around a time like this, we talked about winning in compatibility. So this conversation is a build-up from what we had last year. I'll share my screen so that we can begin. All right. Here we are. So this year we are talking about loving right and being authentic by choice. Choice is a term I look at as a form of empowerment. Choice is knowing that you have the freedom and that you trust yourself. So today's conversation has a little bit less to do with psychology and more to do with how life is based on my experience and the people I've come across. So I am a psychotherapist. I work with Hisia Psychology Consultants, which I founded. We have been in practice since 2018. I offer therapy in relationship, family, trauma, depression. I've also founded an organization called Wellness with Nancy, which reaches out to people in the diaspora to ensure that mental health is accessible. So if you have family out there, feel free to send them our way. That said, I would like this conversation to be very engaging. So I'll invite you to type on the chat box what you think about. When you think about love, who comes to mind? Who comes to mind when we say, it's the month of love? Who is coming to your mind? Please write it on our chat box.
Waiting to see Richard's answer.
I'm also waiting for that as well, you know.
As you wait for my hand, Nancy, you can put it on presentation mode.
Let me see if I'm able to do that there. Right.
Yeah.
Great. So who comes to mind when you think about love? And I can see some conversations, some people have started writing there. And it is important because this sets the foundation of our conversation. So if Grace, you can read to me some of those responses.
I see me, myself, and I see my ex. I see my kids. I see my mom. I see wife, husband, kids, parents, and others.
Yes.
Keep them coming. Keep them coming.
Awesome.
I see me, happy babies, and my mom.
So it is a broad thing. It's what comes to mind to a lot of people is broad, and there are those who zero in on themselves. So we all have a gadget called a mobile phone. If you took your phone and turned the camera on the selfie mode, who do you see on that? Do you like what you see? What do you feel when you look at the person on the camera on the selfie mode? When was the last time you told that person you loved them? Can you tell that person you love them? Can you? All right.
Yeah.
I believe we have all done that. So the objective of tonight's conversation is to understand love from a psychological and emotional wellness perspective. The second one is to identify healthy versus performative love, because we do have performative love. And then we need to learn the cost of incompatibility. Remember last year we talked about winning incompatibility, not love. This year we are looking at love. So the cost of incompatibility. Then we are going to explore pathways to authentic relationship. Authentic. So the person you told, who you saw on your phone camera, and you told them you love them, do you love them authentically or is it conditionally? Because you pour from a point that is learned, okay? And sometimes the lessons you learned are not the healthy way of living life. They keep costing you, right? Then the last one, we are going to gain self-awareness, emotional intelligence, and self-love. So love in psychology is a complex emotional, cognitive, and behavioral and physiological state. So it has those four modes that we look at. And so you should not be saying you love someone because you feel a certain way. You need to be aware the reasoning behind that feeling, physiologically what you're experiencing. It also includes emotional closeness, valuing another person's supportive action, and biological bonding system involving hormones such as oxytocin and dopamine. So the person who, when you think about love, the person who comes to mind, this is how you relate to that person. So the me, myself, and I, this is how you relate to that person. My ex, this is the complexity within which you are connected to that person. The person saying their children, this is the complexity that you're going, whatever happens in your system. So understanding that, I'm always curious with the science behind anything. So what happens in the brain, because I did talk about it being cognitive, love starts in the brain. It's a decision. When we said choice, it's a decision, because that's where desire, trust, obsession, and attachment make sense. So you have a neural wiring when you think about love, and there's a brain chemistry. Otherwise, the hormones we talked about being produced would not be produced because there would be no signal. Then the next place, which is the chest, or people call it the heart. This is where you have the emotional center. When you meet someone, you feel a sense of tightness and you have a sense of warmth. When you're broken, equally, you go through a tighter experience. Then the third part is where your gut speaks to you, and the gut speaks volumes. The gut is where intuition is. The 6th, 7th, 8th sense lie there. So if you are able to understand that feeling or what the gut is communicating, then you will not misinterpret and quickly jump into unauthentic or inauthentic relationships. Then you have physiologically, where the body communicates. We have a lot of restaurants. I'm relaxing my shoulders as we are talking. A lot of people go on dates. By the way, hotels will not even have reservations that they make your reservations early. And if you sit and observe, you can tell people who are in love, people who are fighting, and people who are distanced based on their body language. And this is where you tell how the shoulders are laying, the tightness, the way they sit, the way they talk to each other, whether there's closeness. It speaks volume. Richard.
I'm laughing because I'm trying to imagine the morning traffic and the body language normally that is observed.
Exactly. So, we have to also bring this love into your workplace, okay? So when you go to work, the same process, the same complexity applies. So similarly, even the way you pose at work expresses how you feel, whether there's gelling or whether there's no gelling. So thank you for that. So here we need to understand emotional exhaustion when love is not working, and managing perception. There are people who live for validation. You want to be validated online, so you keep up with the Joneses, as they say, or validation at work or in the relationship, because relationships, when people come together, are not just the two of them. It goes beyond themselves to their families, to their friends, and so on and so forth. So there could be pressure coming from those ends. And then there are people who confuse performance with connection. So here, I wanted to just point out to this called office romance. Yes, office romance. So there are people who've learned the art of connecting and manipulating so that they get their objectives or goals, delivered. And so the person receiving that attention, no matter the angle, might confuse that there is a big connection, that there is more to that beyond the office romance, because they feel connected to this person. However, it could be because there is performance expected. And we see this happening a lot with organizations that are sales oriented. Okay. So a lot of connection and gelling is happening there. People are second, third, fourth, women or husbands in that case. So listen to your brain, listen to your heart, listen to your gut, and listen to your physiology. Okay? Right. So how do we know we are in love? What is that thing that tells us? And last year we looked at Robert Sternberg's triangular theory of love, which is the base of everything. Because when I say office romance, there is an aspect missing. When we talk about inauthentic relationship, there is also an aspect missing. So the key ideas here is to understand that intimacy, passion, and commitment are the key things that will build love beyond what the mind is saying. So you have to understand and have that and overcome that fear of letting go when things are not working. And then you also have to realize the misalignment that could be there. So what is this Sternberg's triangular theory of love? I've just posted it on the screen. You have the first stage where you notice someone or you notice yourself. You develop a level of liking to yourself. You say certain things to yourself or you say certain things about someone. This liking can build intimacy. If it is shared, there could be intimacy there. Then you move to the other corner of the triangle where you have infatuation. And there are people who exist in that infatuation state. And in infatuation, there's a lot of passion. That's where there's a lot of hurriedness in this thing that we call love. Let me see if I can go back. I can't go back. I'll stop share and go back. So there is a lot of hurriedness in those relationships when you think about it. And mostly is because it's just the physiological aspect that is at play in that sense. We are back. Oh, yeah. All right, you will allow me to share it as it's appearing. It seems to be skipping. Yeah, let me see. Share screen. There we go. Awesome. All right, so that's the second corner of that triangle. Then you have a situation where there is empty love, but there is commitment. And there are a lot of relationship marriages that are existing this way. And I'm sure that has been some feedback we've received in our conversation once we posted it. So when you have liking and you have infatuation, you get romantic love. When you have liking and you have empty love, you get compassionate. And then when you have empty love and infatuation, you get fatuous love. So what is promoted by the religious practices is the consummate love, where we have intimacy, passion, and commitment. And even this still works with yourself. You can be intimate with yourself, the things you do for self-care. You can be passionate about your self-growth, and you can set goals and stay committed to it. So that's how you know if you're in love and the type of love that you're undergoing. Definitely love has benefits, right? Because it does stabilize emotions, it does strengthen thinking. And this is where I said performative love comes in here, you know, office romance comes in here, because then when you have someone cheering you on, you do feel encouraged to deliver. So it strengthens thinking, it guides healthier behaviors, and it improves focus, motivation, emotional regulation, and it brings resilience. And in the field that Richard is very good in, communication, if he did not love what he does, he would not be the master of communication. So generally, you get overall well-being when you have a well-balanced love. And when those intricate areas I talked about are well blended. So the most important thing to note is that self-awareness is the basis of building love before you move on to other people. This month of love, I saw a TikTok meme of someone who had to attend 17 locations in one day. And I'm sure in those 17 locations, there'll be a few disappointed, you know? Anyway, so sometimes love stops working. It's not always constant. It's a continuum. So there are times you have the experience of abundance in love, and then there are times you don't have that based on few things happening. Life, as people call it. However, when love is not working, the neurochemicals, the things we do not see, because those are the things that bring people into the therapy room, or those are the things that make people get admitted. Those are the things that make people develop health complications. Those are the same things that lead to emotional dysregulation. Okay. So when it's not working, the science behind this is that the body produces a stress hormone. Okay. And this stress hormone, someone could report, I'm very anxious. I don't understand why. Or overthinking. Or they're having trouble sleeping. And as I said, the chest tightens and they get stuck in a worry loop. It's a loop. It's a cycle. You don't know the beginning. You don't know where it stops. So you get stuck. That's the first point. Because then when this is happening, your whole system is under stress. And this is not the positive stress. So you start feeling unsafe, unstable when this cortisol stays high. So if you're there and you're going through life in a relationship and are experiencing some of these things that I've mentioned, please reach out to a safe environment such as a therapist so that you can work through the challenges you probably have or the things that your mind is not able to comprehend and go past that. The second hormone to be produced is the epinephrine, and we like to call it adrenaline. Okay? So adrenaline is like a survival. It pushes you towards survival and towards action. So you will have racing hearts, you will have jitters, and you are not able to stay relaxed because it's pushing you to act, and you might not even be aware. Act in what way? Should I abuse this person who has annoyed me? Should I write a resignation letter to this employer, because I've been committed and they don't notice it, right? Should I lecture that child of mine who doesn't get me? It is pushing you to act. So when you're not able to act in a positive way, it ends up costing you. The third hormone is the norepinephrine, which is the hyperfocus. Notice how these things are coming along. There is hyperfocus on what is said to you, how it is said, and the timing you're receiving this. Okay? When things are working, we don't notice this, we just gel in it and we flow. When they're not working, you notice how you're talked to, who talked how, all the red flags. So when you hear people saying, I'm noticing red flags, they are on the norepinephrine hormone. So when you're in a relationship full of uncertainty or having mixed signals, that is the hormone you'll have. Then you have a drop in oxytocin. So oxytocin, remember, is the bonding hormone. It is when you have a young baby, you hold that baby, that bonding produces oxytocin. If you have a pet, a cat, a dog, whatever it is, when it comes to you and there's connection, your body produces oxytocin. So oxytocin is like Wi-Fi. Communication It enables communication without there being verbal or written. It is the feeling that helps you to know whether you are aligned, whether everything is okay, or when things are not okay. So when love is not working, there is a drop in this. So imagine the confusion. All right. So you get emotional distance, you feel less connected, and touch feels less comforting. Then the fifth one, you have dopamine dysregulation. Okay. So dopamine, dopamine is very addictive. We chase it. And, I'm sure we've had addiction conversations, and you've had people say that addicts stay stuck at it because they are chasing that feel good. So dopamine here gets dysregulated. The feel good hormone is dysregulated. So you're not able to be consistent. Sometimes you feel you need to go back to that which you felt love was. Remember who you thought of. So sometimes you could end up going back to that because of that dopamine addiction. It's the high. That is what you're craving. That's what you're chasing. And you go through restlessness and feelings of low. And then you start feeling withdrawal. Now, a lot of people will say, I'm feeling depressed. You self-diagnosed, eh? You could be right. You have symptoms, but you have no right to self-diagnose. But the reason why you're feeling depressed is the dopamine is dysregulated. It's not constant, okay? So that is what we don't see. And maybe when you see someone now talking to you about what their experiences are, you can be able to align with this conversation and tell them, by the way, why don't you read up on norepinephrine? Because I feel like that is where you have an imbalancing, or well, you're on adrenaline. Let me take you on a walk, so that you can dispense that energy. You understand? Or, hey, cortisol levels are high. You're even breaking up and you're complaining of backaches. Let's go to the spa, because they'll get that contact that is required to regulate someone. So that's what happens internally. We had this slide, I picked it up from our previous conversation because it shows incompatibility. And from this, we can work out what incompatibility is. So the first stage, when people say, I'm in a relationship, right? They're in a relationship because they feel compatible or they are experiencing some sort of love, okay? Compatible, there are people who are compatible but do not make good lovers. And there are people who are in love and still don't make good lovers. So when we say lovers, they don't make good relationship. So it is good to explore yourself and also maybe weigh in, audit this other person that you're trying to connect with, or that work that you're trying to sell yourself into, on how compatible is it for you? How well does it make you feel balanced, or what does it trigger in you? And what kind of a relationship is it bringing? Because this points out in the way two or more people or things connect or state of being together, okay? So when there is incompatibility, there are things that are not joining in and they can't be flow. So the idea is understanding yourself, your values, your goals, your life plan, and seeing not everyone will have it as you wish, but also seeing how are you contributing to that and where are you falling short of, so that if you are looking for support from a colleague, they're supporting you in areas you're struggling in, or if it is a partner, they are lifting you or helping you to prosper in the areas that you're not super strong in. So you are able to form a relationship that builds in on each other. So incompatibility leads people to people-pleasing fatigue, okay? So you try everything possible to connect with an individual or with a situation, with work, with that pet, but it's only you who ends up pouring into. You don't get seen because you're not speaking the language of that person. It leads you to performative love, where these days it's just technical responsibilities that people are meeting. When people come for therapy and say it's marital or relationship, the first thing that is not working is their communication. So there are people who say, we live together, things are working, and I'm expected to deliver 1, 2, 3 things and play a certain role, but I don't feel appreciated. I do not feel seen. I do not feel supported. So in that state, you are in a performative love environment. Then it leads to attachment insecurity, emotional exhaustion, anxiety, and mental health strain. What I'd like to point out more here is attachment. I'm sure when you're doing your self-esteem identity therapies, you look at your attachment styles. And it stems back to how you were raised, how your needs were met, And that's why I said, sometimes what we think is love from who we learned it from is not the healthy way, or it stops serving you at some point, right? So even if you have insecure attachment, you can work on the areas that are the trigger points so that you become secure. Okay? If you have avoidant attachment, you can work on those things that feel like a threat to you so that you become secure. So you can learn. Then, remember I said anxiety and the hormones that come up with that. So incompatibility will produce that. So what do we do? What do we do when we know all these things, when we've done life the way we have done? I'm sure there's someone saying, me with my 50 years. Another one is saying, gosh, I'm just 27. What will I get out there? The base of life is first individuating. And we learn this, a lot of us learn this a little bit into the thick, So individuating is a process of becoming whole and authentic. So you separate yourself from societal expectations, you integrate emotions, your values, your instincts, and your desires into a cohesive sense of self. Okay? So, individuating does bring about authenticity. And authenticity is not a personality trait. There's nowhere we will see that in our practice manual as psychologists, the DSM. It's not a personality trait. It's a choice you make. And that is why our poster it had the word choice. So to you, if you have a pen and paper, you can note down this question and maybe have a self-conversation. How does choice look like to you and in real life? Because it can be two different things. The idea here is once you realize there's a misalignment, then you need to work on where are we separating from? When you see it is aligned, then you're more empowered and you have a high level of individuation. Right? So, individuation is the intellectual spine in a lot of things. Why do we call it a spine? If you think about a human body or any form of creature, for example, that does have bones, there is a connecting part, right? Where everything, starts from, in a sense, or has to end at. So your spine as a human being, your spine when it comes to love, your spine when it comes to life, succeeding, relating, has to begin with individuating. The thing to note, individuating is not separating yourself from, okay? It is coming into whole. And maybe that's why we see a lot of people succeeding once they have gone through separation or divorce. Because the barriers sometimes are not there. Okay? So those who are married, we need to see more evidence of succeeding of both parties in that relationship, because it does point out to one is not individuated and is being sucked to supporting another one. So individuation does not destroy love. It reveals whether love is capable of holding the truth. Okay? What is the truth in your relationship? What is the truth with the relationship with yourself? When you decided to love yourself, what's the truth behind that? Right? I like when motivation is from a point of acceptance and wholeness than when it is from a point of pain, because pain keeps you wanting to prove. So you're always in competition. There's always a standard. So you don't individuate and you lose your spine. When your spine is dysfunctional, you will have nerve pains, you will be deformed, even your posture won't be right. So when I say posture, I mean even in love, your posture is not right. So love that is not working is not a personal failure. It is important for people to note that. It's an invitation for one to become more whole. So what has not worked for you is pointing towards you needing to become whole. So the goal is not to save the relationship at the cost of yourself. Let that sink in. And then another point I put there is that the goal is to see whether love can grow alongside who you are becoming. Remember, you're not also constant. You are an evolving human being. You move from one scale of growth to another. You blossom from, the little knowledge or compact knowledge to more advanced knowledge. Even technology does advance, right? So the people who do not advance will become outdated, right? And they will not fit in. So equally, if you do not advance in the way you love, right, you will become outdated and you won't fit in, okay? So you need to learn, how do I individuate? What are the goals I need to work on? How am I supposed to, what are the things that are lacking for me to become whole, right? And who am I becoming? Name that. When I started Hisia Psychology Consultants, I did have a big vision, okay? And the vision I had could not be fulfilled all at once. So it has gone on flourishing into different things and also into the birth of Wellness with Nancy. So I am becoming someone in the sense that I see myself and I talk about myself. So who are you becoming? Or has love made you forget who you are and who you should be? Okay. So the things you need to think about at this point is, what is your clear self-definition with individuation? Have a clear self-definition. Grace does introduce herself and what she does. I do introduce myself and what I do. There's clarity in that. And different contexts will require you to also adjust, but there has to be consistency.
You have muted yourself, Nancy.
Sorry. The second one is knowing what your boundaries are. These are the steps to individuating, right? Understanding your boundaries, and boundaries are vast, right? There is spiritual boundary, financial boundary, emotional boundary, material boundary, time boundary, space boundary, intimate boundary, and did I talk of finances? And financial boundary, okay? So those are the categories of boundaries. But a lot of us think that a boundary is one thing. You have to develop, what is your financial boundary? What are the do's and don'ts, okay? What's your expenditure limits? What's your income? Are you accepting lower than because you're on survival mode, you know? What is your personal space boundary? Or is everyone, you know, allowed to just come in and anyhow, okay? What's your time boundary? So expound on that so that you're not going through guilt spirals. You're not being defensive, okay? For someone who's not involved, boundary is cutting everyone off, isolating. No, that's not boundary. Then the third thing is not tolerating disapproval. And I say this is a big one, okay? When you're disapproved and you're convicted on why you're doing what you're doing, you need to know that you will be able to survive. It will not kill you. So you need to give yourself the grace and the space to go through that, right? What's the fourth one, Grace? I can't see it on my screen. It's covered.
Speaking from a position, not permission.
Exactly. Remember, with individuating, you're becoming whole, you're learning yourself, you're convicted of what your abilities are, you do not require validation. So you speak from a point of, yes, this is me, okay? And I command these experiences, right? Not that you need permission to become or to say. So when you find yourself in a state where you need permission, then remember you're producing the negative hormones that I talked about. Then you have reduced people pleasing. Remember, people pleasing is a disease, yeah? People pleasing is running away from yourself. Like running away from your shadow on a sunny day. It cannot separate from yourself, you know? So with individuation, you have reduced people pleasing. So you stop being hyper vigilant, okay? You stop reading the room for survival. You do not overperform to earn safety. Remember, I talked of, you know, those relationships that happen within the office. So sometimes someone can end up being trapped. So if they don't perform, they're afraid of the consequences, which also involve a little bit more, okay? And you also don't tie your worth to being indispensable. You're one of a kind, okay? When you've individuated, you know you're unique as your fingerprints. And so you cannot be replaced. You can excuse, you can move away, you can become, but do not then feel tied that you're going to be dispensable. So when individuation increases, resentment decreases. Resentment is hate, okay? There are people who say, I was traumatized. True, you got traumatized. We wouldn't say you never got traumatized because you produced all those negative chemicals. But you just got stuck in the trauma, okay? So what you have is high resentment. And when you have high resentment, even with yourself, you're not able to meet yourself authentically, okay? You act to pacify, not to grow, not to heal, not long-term. So we need to act long-term to grow, to build, because remember, individuation is the process of becoming whole. It's a process. It's not we get all the pieces and that's it. Once you have fitted the pieces, you decide, how do I expand this which I have within me, okay? Am I able to move to the next slide? Imekwama hapo. Let me see. Let's share again. There we go. Is it showing? Yeah. Is it showing on your end?
It hasn't moved.
Ah, there.
Oh, there we go.
Remember there was the word authentic on our poster, right? And I said authenticity is not a personality trait. It's a daily choice. Authenticity is how consistent you are. Remember, consistency builds trust. You need to be able to trust yourself. You need to be trusted, okay? You need to be known for something. What are you known for, okay? So when you're authentic, you make daily choices that drive or speak the language which you're trying to convey. So this is the space you hold for yourself when change is happening. Change is a term I like, okay? My mother used to say when I was young, hey, change is as good as rest. And so when she'd be away, I would reorganize the seats, the table, the house to bring this change because it made my mother happy, right? Now, when I started being independent, I learned, oh, change is hard. I do want my carpet where I know it is, my cup where I can pick it, my pen on a certain point. So when you change it without permission, you disorient me. I thank God my mother held the space for me to do all those experiments at home. So with me, change brings about resistance. I do go through intra resistance, okay? It takes time for me to adjust. I don't know about you. When change is happening, there are all the thoughts, perceptions, fears, right? Remember, change is good, but even though it's good, there's a sense of fear or uncertainty. So intra, I go through a level of resistance. Then inter, with people around me, when change is happening, okay, I do notice the discomfort sometimes they will have, okay? So change brings about resistance. So when that resistance is happening, are you able to hold space for yourself? And then are you aware of those inter and intra conflicts that are happening? Holding space for yourself is being patient. Is affirming yourself that all will be okay. Is putting in place what is required for you to be safe, okay? So that is authenticity. And that sums up our conversation. What we need to know is that healthy love begins with self-awareness. When individuals understand themselves, they form relationships rooted in authenticity rather than performance. Individuation allows us to love freely, consciously, and sustainably, okay? When you love yourself, you need to love yourself sustainably. When you're loving others, it needs to be sustainable. So what are the things that you're doing to ensure that there is sustainability? This is a term a lot of NGOs like to use, and we think of sustainability as going green, healthier, saving the future, outliving yourself. So sustainability is being able to outlive, okay? So are you loving yourself with the right boundaries? Are you individuating by identifying where and those bits and pieces are not whole? Do you have your tribe with you that when you cannot tell the hormonal changes you're going through, they can be able to support you and pick you? When you're going through love that is right, they can be able to cheer with you authentically, right? Are you able to communicate with yourself? So sustainability is what I invite for all of us. So thank you so much, Grace, for this opportunity. As I mentioned earlier, my practice is Hisia Psychology Consultants. We do offer individual, family, relationship, corporate training. And we do have Wellness with Nancy for those who are in the diaspora. So we hope to hear from you, and I'd like to get feedback. Grace, over to you.
Thank you, Nancy. Today is indeed a learning session. Yeah. I'm just thinking, I'm looking at my chart and I can see some people saying, hey, sasa here individuating. Others are saying, I am in touch with my spine. Let me go and look for my spine. And I see somebody who is saying, your buzzword for 2025 was nonchalant. Please discuss this term versus individuation.
So that's a question.
Yes.
So nonchalant is a boundary, is a wall, is existing within your confines with what you can be able to provide for yourself, is not caring so much of what others are saying, right? But what that does is that it limits you to the other resources that could help build you. Individuating is being able to pull out the resources within and out of yourself so that you build a holistic self. Yeah.
Very, very, very interesting. Richard, do you have a question for Nancy? Hii mambo ya mapenzi unajua nimekuachia.
Nancy, those were very good points. And
yes.
I could want you to elaborate intellectual spine so that it doesn't come out as arrogance, it doesn't come out as indifference. How do you come up with intellectual spine so that you love yourself?
All right. Thank you for that question. And it's a very intelligent question.
Is that a compliment?
Yes. So anyway, intellectual, when we say something is intellectual, it means that it is backed by facts, by knowledge, by practice. Okay. So it is qualified. So qualifying that spine is qualified. It's the way it should be. It's molded. There is effort that has been put into making that spine. That's why I said there are those, when your spine is not formed well, you go through pain, you will have a bad posture, or you might be deformed. You might be having some disability. So when you're working towards not having the disability, when you build on it, it becomes very firm and steady to hold the you who you are working to becoming or who you have already become. I hope that answers you.
Yeah, the other question is, there is the concept of inner works, that is shadow work.
Yes.
How much does it interfere with love if you do not do shadow work? Does it interfere with love?
Well, maybe you can elaborate what you know about shadow work. This is a question so that I know how the angle to come with.
Shadow, going, for example, people have got desires that they do not express. They have got certain limitations. They do not express themselves. So if you do not express probably your limitations or unmet desires, it will definitely limit your love, I think. But if you do not work on them.
Unconscious.
Yes.
So, and with unconscious needs, beliefs, or behaviors, you have to work on your self-awareness. That's the basics. So when you're aligned with the person you've defined yourself or you say you are, there is fluency. So you can be able to love yourself and be able to love others authentically. When you have no fluency, then you love from a point of conditional or needs that are being met. Okay? So there's an aspect of rigging the system or manipulation at play. Yeah.
All right.
By the way,
Got you,
speaking
Grace.
of speaking of manipulation,
Yes.
I have seen people who study you. Probably it's performative love. They
Yes.
study you, and then for a period they give you what you're looking for, and then for the next one they use everything against you. And
Yes.
and I've seen both parents, for example. I've seen mothers using their kids as weapons, and husbands using their kids and dads using kids as weapons. That is part of performance love, right? That
It
means
is.
there's lack of individuation, right?
There is, yes, there's lack of individuation. So people pull up, other aspects of people or things to bring into the context because they feel that that has more weight or can end up, diverting the interest as they wish the interest to happen. And so when you have toxic relationship or dysfunctional families, you will find triangulation happening. Okay. And the person, if there's a sense of, if I was to move a point of this triangle, then it would not be the shape I know. So it sort of traps people in. Another thing to note is that there are personality disorders, that we have very intellectual individuals being narcissistic, and so they study behaviors against a need, and then trap you and use you to their gain or to the image that they are trying to portray. And so a lot of people are stuck. And remember, because of that dopamine production, when things are going right, it's produced so high. When you experience a high, you want it at the next time you're receiving it, you want it at a higher level. So the fact that there's a high level of that hormone produced and it's no longer being availed to you, or it's dysregulated, then a lot of people get stuck hoping for that feeling once again. Okay? Yeah.
I have a curveball, Nancy, here,
Yes.
which has
Yes.
just come up.
Uh-huh.
This quote I normally see people saying that women don't love nice men, kind men, gentlemen. They love bad boys, they love jacks.
Bad
How
boys.
true is that?
Well, remember how you were raised, the environment which you grew up in and was normalized to you is something that you will always revert to. Okay. So if you were raised feeling denied certain things, and maybe to your peers it was glorified or it seemed like the thing, at one point that's an unconscious, that now goes to your shadow work. It's an unconscious desire that you have. So the bad boys we talk about, they will love you intensely. Remember that triangle? They will love you intensely. So dopamine will be put up there, my gosh. But then when it starts being dysregulated, a lot of people do everything that they can. So you find if it was a woman loving the bad boy, they will be putting up their resources. They will be, dedicating their life. They will, a lot of things just to try and receive that dopamine. And that's why I brought in that science of it rather than the branding that we would have in the society, because it helps to destigmatize what these connections usually are. And there are also some very successful men who love the very bad girls, because we do have the same bad boys, they're bad girls. So we do have that. And it's in their unconscious.
Actually, there's a book. Actually, there's a book about it.
Yes. Because unconsciously they are looking to conquer that which looks challenging, So, and the dopamine of achieving, that set target keeps them chasing it over and over. Yep.
Wow. This is a very, very interesting conversation. Can someone recover from people pleasing?
Oh, that's a good question. Yes, yes, yes. You can recover from people pleasing, because when you have to people please, then there is an aspect of disempowerment that is at play. Okay. So when you're able to identify that imbalance, and most of the time you will require a safe environment to explore that, then you can work on empowering yourself. And remember, you lead from the point of clarity as opposed to getting the permission. I hope that answers it.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Yes, it does. Wow. Amazing, amazing. I am just looking at the comments on the chat. Very informative presentation, an amazing presentation right there, Nancy. This is Shiko from Office Park.
Oh.
Who is this? Some cases. I love that this was a practical, physiological, evidence-backed session and wrapped up with psychological truths. Taken some notes for homework and some of my current challenges.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, guys. I appreciate your support and tuning in and learning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Roberto says, as we finish, is people pleasing an addiction?
The addiction is because of dopamine. It's a neurochemical. So it's the dopamine that you will keep chasing because your system was high on it. So one needs to learn how to detox from that intense dopamine to a point where you have regulated. Because what happens when love is not working is that dopamine is dysregulated. And you can be aware mentally that it is dysregulated, but remember, it's internal in your system. Okay? So a lot of support from your family, from your friends, and a lot of self-work is required for one to, relearn and unlearn some of those habits and traits.
Certainly, certainly. Well,
yeah.
Leo tumeingia University of Love. And my Ugandan friends, what I'm saying is today we are in the university. I'm sure you can pick that conversation. Anyway, so thank you very much, Nancy. Before you give us your parting shot, I see Paul has posted our YouTube channel link is there. If you came in late or you want to just sit down and listen to, this is the one that you listen with the taking notes. You can always review this, and you can also join our WhatsApp group to get to know what is happening on Get It Right. And of course, register for the mentorship program, Growth Grid Mentorship Program, and the Google link has been shared there. And you can answer this as you share your parting shot. People pleasing and attention seeking, do they have the same traits?
Attention is goal oriented, is to serve maybe an emergency. It could be a pacifier, right? While people pleasing is trying to bring, it could be working towards making an environment see the world the way you see it, or you moving away from yourself to delivering what is against your values, but brings a sense of conformity or peace around you. So those would be the two differences. I hope that answers Roberto. So
yes, give us one line, a parting shot.
So thank you for taking the time. Take your time to go through our pages, our website, Hisia Psychology Consultants and Wellness with Nancy. Do share the message of improving your psychological well-being to yourself and to your family members. And I look forward to hosting a lot of you in the Unveiling the Queen Season 6 on the 8th of March. Stay tuned on our social media pages. Asante sana, Grace, and this was very enlightening. See you.
Thank you so much, Nancy. This was very fresh. I wish more people had joined to just get what we have gotten. So thank you for your time. And of course, to you, our audience, thank you for making the time to be here. And we really appreciate hey, Richard.
Sorry. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for having time to come and demystify some of the most important concepts in life. For example, we have done love today. Next week, we'll be having another one. Don't miss, and always share the flyer when you see it. And of course, this program comes to you free of charge. What you need to do when you hear training is needed, when team building is needed, and when job evaluation, think of Atara Solutions. From me and Grace, and of course, our presenter, Nancy Wanjiro Shiro. Good night and God bless.
Good night.
Thank you, Richard. And please join our WhatsApp group if you're new here to get to know what's coming up. We have an amazing topics coming up in the next couple of weeks. So see you next Tuesday, same time, same place, and have yourselves a lovely night.